Hey, it's Uxdale, Luke here, and in today's video I'm taking a look at Carly Connected Car, a smartphone enabled code reader that offers a few features that set it apart from the competition. In the box you get just a quick start guide and the small adapter itself. Carly works by connecting it to the vehicle's OBD2 port and then by connecting it to your phone via Bluetooth. To do this, you're going to need to download the Carly app. Carly is available for both iOS and Android. An iPad version can be downloaded, but as you can see, it's just a stretched version of the iPhones. I would very much like to see a dedicated iPad version released in the future to further help unlock Carly's potential for more serious or professional users. That being said, I feel like Carly's pricing is aimed more at the enthusiast owner who likes to do a bit of tinkering to their own car, rather than to a mechanic who will be diagnosing dozens of cars per week. Now you do get different features depending on what you pay for. Opt for the basic £65 version and you receive the adapter and the light version of the app. This allows you to do some basic diagnostic checks, and by basic I mean engine fault codes and perhaps transmission too. You also get access to basic live data. At this price, you're not really getting anything the competition doesn't offer, except Carly maybe being a bit more expensive. For those reasons, I don't actually recommend the light version of the app. Now, pay £109 and step up to the full version of the app, and you really get a much more powerful tool. And this is really when Carly comes into its own. For starters, you get full diagnostics, so that means in addition to the engine and transmission, Carly can also read the brakes, airbags and infotainment system. Unlike cheap code readers, Carly actually reads all the specific modules of the car. Now on something like my E92 here, this is very important because cheap code readers tend to only read the vehicle's ECU, and there's so much more modules on this car communicating. With this, I am able to actually see a very detailed in-depth report of my car, and unfortunately, at the moment I have 63 issues, so it's going to take some sorting out. One of the major strengths of Carly, and I'm sure the main reason many of you are considering it, is the coding functionality offered to certain manufacturers. Carly offers extensive coding options for BMW. Of course, the options available to you will vary depending on your model. For example, my E92 has many more options available than my E95. And as you can see, Carly allows you to go into each individual module and tinker to your heart's content, enabling and disabling things you don't normally have access to. Of course, be careful with this, guys. There is a reason this stuff isn't made accessible to the average person, but fortunately, Carly does create a backup every time you go into a module. So if you do mess it up, there's a good chance you can restore it from an earlier configuration. As a quick example, some of the changes I've done to this car are being able to alter the brightness of the DRLs so they're brighter during the day, and enabling the tail lights as DRLs as well. I can play an audible confirmation when my car's locked, or even disable the seatbelt warning chimes and the little annoying handover things that come out to give you the seatbelt every time against the car. On my Z4, I was able to code it so that the roof came up and down by just holding the key fob down, which is super satisfying to do. So it's super easy to use. You have so many options. For example, I can change the follow me home lights from off 40 seconds, 90, 150, 200 seconds. I can tell it to make a noise when I lock and unlock the car, or even disable the voltage monitoring for the lights. So perhaps you put LED lights in and it's come up with a warning light on your dashboard. Guess what? Disable that monitoring and that warning's gone. Coding though is not just limited to tinkering with your car's systems. It can be used for other stuff like reprogramming a new battery onto a BMW, or even requesting a DPF region. By the way, you might be wondering why I'm doing no interior shots of the car. That's because there is no interior in my car and I can't really get in because I've got a loose headliner in here. And if anyone's just wondering about quick updates what's happening with my car, it has a roof on, it's got a windscreen, so it's looking solid as you can see so far. And I will be giving you an update on this car very, very soon because I've filmed all this stuff that I've been doing to it. And this brings me on to the next feature called Smart Mechanic, which is £35 extra than the regular Carly app. And at first I thought this was a bit of a gimmick, but the more I've used it, the more I found it genuinely useful. I do think it's definitely worth considering, but not 100% necessary, because you can find the information by doing some searches on the web. Now the way it works is if I bring up one of the faults in my car, so let's go to an engine fault and something like a glow plug fault, and I enter Smart Mechanic, first thing it's going to do is bring up the fault code, and it's going to give me a much more detailed look at what this fault code is. Rather than just a generic code, I've got potential consequences and even a guide from the smart mechanic, and it's going to tell me about what the glow plugs do, how it works, symptoms of it, and possible errors of how it's caused, even tips for replacing the glow plug. So it's very, very in-depth, which I really like, and it's all this information is available on the internet. It's all here condensed in one app, just super quick, super easy, and really easy to understand. You are able to also look about the electrical systems, about the modules, and one thing I do like is the intelligent predictions. So what this does, it basically collects data from all other car users with the same car, and it's going to compare that data and say, well, if you've got this fault at this particular point in time, there is a certain percentage chance that in a certain amount of time you're going to have this fault. So, for example, if I take this one, there's an 18% chance that 15 weeks after my first glow plug fault, I'm going to have a clogged DPF filter. And it's done this by comparing the data from other car users. Now, if this is done correctly, this could be very powerful. Only time will tell, and I do hope to get my car fixed and repaired before this even happens. But it's interesting how this is working, and I do think it has a lot of merits to it. You know, after all, if 50% of users suffer turbo failure after receiving a boost error code, you'd want to know about it. And if that is the case, well, this really could be one of the biggest cost savers you could invest in, because £35 could potentially save you a lot of money in the future, but only time will tell. Okay, the light's starting to go, so it's time to wrap this review up. So what do I think of Carly overall? Well, like I said, I don't think the £65 version is worth considering, but the £109 one is truly excellent for the money against so many features for that cost. The smart mechanic really has its merits, and I think it's definitely in the category of worth considering but not necessary. You can find that information going to the forums on the internet, but there is a lot of BS out there. I really liked how to the point and concise and still in depth the smart mechanic feature was. And as for the intelligent predictions, I can't speak to how effective they're going to be, but if it's done in the right way, it's got the potential at least to be a massive cost saver for some people out there. So I'm only speaking about its merits in terms of a potential cost saver rather than actual real world experience. So please bear that in mind. Finally, on checkout, you will also have the option for an extra £15 to add all manufacturers to Carly, which means, for example, VW Audi can be added, and you can fully code them cars in just as much depth, which is really cool. At that cost, I think it's a no-brainer to add it, because you also get full diagnostics for other manufacturers. And if it's a toss-up between opting for smart mechanic or all manufacturers, I would go for all manufacturers every day of the week, because that means you can take Carly with you to other manufacturers you might go to in the future, and you still got a very robust diagnostic tool that will serve you for years to come. As for the overall cost of Carly, £160, you get so much features. I mean, that's £160 when you put everything into it, like smart mechanic, all brands, etc. You're getting a lot of features for your money, guys. Now, I've got a Delphi system which costs over £1,000, and on certain cars, it doesn't offer anywhere near the same type of functionality, especially on BMWs. I would go straight for Carly before I went to the Delphi if I just want to run diagnostics on BMWs, because it's really that in-depth. Putting that into comparison, you really do get a lot of features for your money. It's in a system that's backed up by a lot of support, a lot of app updates, and there's lots of users out there. So it's not one of these startup companies. Carly has been around for quite a few years now and has earned a good reputation. I mean, that's why they're still in business. So anyway, if you do want to buy this, there is a 15% discount in the description below, and that is an affiliate link, which means I get a small kickback from every sale sold. But as always, that does not affect my decision on the products, but it does really help fund videos like this in the future. And that's everything for me. So if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. But thank you for watching. See you soon, and as always, take care.